Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. I'm pleased to join by ARCA PR Director Charlie Krall. Welcome back, Charlie.
Casey, it's great to be here, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Well, of course, Charlie is here to talk about the ARCA East and West schedules, and let's go through it. Go ahead, Charlie. Why don't you go ahead and talk about some of what the East and West schedules are going to look like?
Well, Casey, they're going to look a lot like they did last year. Again, 8 races for the East. Several of those will be combination races with the ARCA Menard Series. Out West, we've got 12 races once again. One race in conjunction or in combination, I should say, with the ARCA Menard Series. That, of course, being the season opener there at Phoenix Raceway. A couple of new venues on each of the respective series schedules. We did make instead of 4 standalone races, we've got 5 on the East schedule. Those being Dover, Iowa, Lucas Oil, Indianapolis Raceway Park, the Milwaukee Mile, and Bristol Motor Speedway. And then out west, the new venues out west include a return to a Tri-City Raceway. First time we've been there since 2003. So great to have that event back on the calendar after about a 20-year absence. And then we're going to add a second race at the newly named Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway out there in Bakersfield. That's going to be a big deal, having that race out there at the end of October to go along with the early race in April. So yeah, a very interesting couple of schedules. Casey, 20 races spread across those 2 series, and I'm really looking forward to it, pal. Those races, particularly the ones out west, I've become pretty fond of a lot of those drivers out west, and really looking forward to getting out there and getting the season started.
Yeah, we'll talk. Why don't we just talk about West first, because actually, let's talk about a little bit about East. We'll go. Obviously, we'll talk. I still have a few things about West. Also, Five Flags, Nashville Fairgrounds, and Flat Rock are all back for the season as well. 3 standalone races, 5 combo races. Why the additional combo race?
So that additional combination race at Dover is because we added Dover to the ARCA Menard Series schedule. When Pocono came off, we were looking for a 20th race, and Dover has been, I'll give those folks a lot of credit. They've been calling us every year saying, hey, we want to main a national tour ARCA race. And it just worked out just great that we were able to make that one a combination race. Good for everybody. Still gives those folks chasing that East schedule and that championship still gives them 8 races. And allows us to make that addition there at Dover. And then those other 4 races, they've been combination races here the last couple of years. So it's going to be great to get back to Iowa. There's already a lot of excitement about that entire weekend. Super looking forward to that one. Indianapolis Raceway Park, that's been a major event here the last couple of years. Great crowds, a lot of excitement, still a lot of buzz around that whole weekend there in Indy. And then getting up to the Milwaukee Mile. Adding trucks to that weekend last year was just phenomenal. Great to have the trucks back there after 15 some years, however long it's been. It's been a long time, however long it's been. Great to have those the truck teams back up there, and then closing the season there at Bristol. It's just been a mainstay of the East schedule for many years. So it's great to have that partnership continue on. And of course, I'm super looking forward to getting to Flat Rock, the racetrack that I grew up at every Saturday night, and one of the coolest little bull rings in the entire country. And I'm looking forward to that one. There was a lot of momentum behind that race last year, huge crowd, a lot of sponsorship support behind that one, and hopefully we'll carry that on into 2024.
Yeah, I know. I went to Flat Rock last year, and along with
oh, you were there?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, me, my parents had a great time, and it was also cool seeing Billy out there too. So yeah, it was it'll be exciting to see what East has in store. Okay, let's go to West now. Of course, 2 new tracks added. Of course, well, well, with the Kern adding a second race, because usually it was always that they have hosted. I think this is the first time, I think since 2018 or 19, that they've hosted two.
Yeah, it's been a few years since we've gone to Kern County Raceway Park, now Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway. It's been a few years since we've been up there twice, but historically, that racetrack and that market, even before Kern Raceway existed, it was Mesa Marin. That's been a mainstay stop on the West calendar for decades.
Yeah. Also, Evergreen and the Vegas Bull Ring will not return next year. What went into that?
Casey, these things cost money to put on, and I know Star Nursery in particular was a big time partner out there at the Las Vegas Bull Ring, and I believe they've moved some of their funding around, looking into 2024, and it's hard to put these on when you don't have a sponsor lined up and ready to go. So, no hard feelings at all. Obviously the Bull Ring is part of a pretty big property out there at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and the folks at Speedway Motorsports are great partners of ours. We have races at several of their racetracks all across the country, including Sonoma Raceway on the West schedule. So, sometimes it's just the finance, the financial aspect of it, Casey, just doesn't line up. And, hopefully somewhere in the very near future, we'll get that piece of the puzzle back in place. And we'd love to get back out there to the Bull Ring. We've had some really great races out there. And I know the race fans out there have always turned out to that one. So looking forward to potentially getting back there in the very near future. And the same goes for Evergreen Raceway. That was the site of our 1000th race for the West Series just a couple of years ago. And I know Doug Hobbs and his whole team out there are, they're racers to the core, man. They are. It's just, it is. It's just really hard to put on an event of this nature, particularly when you don't have a guaranteed sponsor in your back pocket. So, we've taken hiatus, a hiatus from both of those speedways in the past, Casey. So, we look forward to get back to both of those places in the very near future.
Yep. Will we see a return to New Smyrna sometime in the near future on the East schedule?
Would be great, man. There was a lot of energy down there when we had the East Series open up down there, and then the Modified Tour was down there as part of the World Series of Asphalt Racing. And I would love it personally. It's just as a race fan and someone who's had the opportunity to call some of those races down there. I still remember Max Gutierrez, that improbable 3-wide pass for the win on the final corner of the final lap back there a couple of years back. So I would love it. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do that here for 2024, but you never know what's ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of the West schedule, they're actually compiled with the West schedule. One of the top rides in that series had a huge announcement today. Of course, was announced that Jack Wood will be the next driver to pilot the famous number 16 for Bill McAnally, or I should say famous Napa 16 car for Bill McAnally Racing out on the West side. So, Jack is very familiar. That is, of course, he is from the state of California. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do in the 16 car. So how about that today?
Yeah, I think that's great, Jack. It becomes an immediate favorite, not maybe the favorite, one of the favorites. There's going to be some pretty stiff competition for it, but he immediately becomes part of the conversation out there as a driver who's going to contend for that championship out there. And I know that's what Bill McAnally, the team co-owner, that's what he's all about. He doesn't want to go out there and run second. He's pretty intent on winning races out there. So I think Jack's going to give him a real good chance. And and that's not taking anything away from Tanner Reif. I really hope we see Tanner land somewhere. I thought he had he had a really good season last year, despite the fact that he just never really had that type of luck that you need to get out there and compete for wins. I think he had a lot of bad luck in the early part of the year that just kind of slowed those guys down a little bit. But I think Tanner Reif is another one of those incredibly talented young drivers, and I hope we get a chance to see him continue on here in 2024. Both of those Reif brothers are pretty competitive out there on the West Coast. So we'll see if Tanner's able to land a ride and give his younger brother a run for his money.
And we'll see if Tyler was able to land a ride too to see what he can do there. Of course, I won at Phoenix earlier in the year. So let's talk about what overall, where do you think the East and West schedules are at? What East and West series are at as we enter into 2024 in weeks.
Casey, that's a fair question. Obviously both of these series have a long history. The East dates back to 1987. The West dates back to 1954, just 1 year after the ARCA Menard series came into being, back in the 50s. So, we take that very seriously. Obviously we've only had sanction of these two series since 2020. But it's something we take very seriously. Ron Drager he just really does take the history of everything he touches into heart, whether it's, the promotion of Flat Rock and Toledo Speedways, whether it's the ARCA Menard series, whether it's now adding on the East and the West. He wants people to know that the history of those things is important to him and it's important to us. And, we want to continue on. The landscape, particularly for the East series, Casey, has changed dramatically here over the course of the last 10 years. And, some of that's economic, some of that is just the way that the sport itself has evolved and changed. It's tough. It really is. It's tough. And we are throwing every resource we have at it, man. Chris Wright, as the series director for both the East and the West series, I don't think you will find anybody who wants those series to survive and thrive more than Chris does. He lives it and breathes it, man. And there's a lot that goes into it. Whether it's from lining up racetracks to recruiting race teams and young drivers and trying to get whether it's a late model team, trying to get them to step up and buy a car to come race for the East Championship, or whether it's, teams from out West or teams from the main ARCA Menard series. There's just a lot that goes into it, Casey. And, we take it very, very seriously. I have been very fortunate here the last couple of years to work every one of the races, whether it's an East or West race or a main ARCA Tour race. It's important to me personally. I want those folks who race in the East and the West to know they matter to me just as much as someone who's racing in the ARCA Menard series matters to me. So there's a lot that goes into it, Casey, but we absolutely are throwing every resource we have at it. We would love to get that East series schedule up to 10 or 12 races. We would love to get full fields of 24, 28, 32 cars showing up to every one of these races, man. It's just I wish people understood how hard it could be sometimes to try to find all the pieces of that puzzle to get it put together just properly.
Yeah. Oh, one more thing I did forget to mention: all the standalone East and standalone West races will be on Flow Racing once again. So
right
yep.
there, baby.
Yeah. Also, heading into 2024, especially with all the other things that are going on, of course, obviously the TV deal with the TV deal that was announced for all three series was coming out. Where do we stand on the ARCA side of things? And also, also what is, in terms of the title sponsor, is how close are we with that with Menards?
I can't answer the Menards question, Casey, although I will tell you that partnership dates back to 2008, and it has been a huge positive for everybody, for us, for Menards, for our vendor partners, for everyone. I'm just not involved in those conversations. I'll know when you guys know on that one. But I wouldn't expect any big changes on that end. I think we are in pretty constant communication with those folks up in Eau Claire, and that has been a very good partnership for, like I said, for everybody involved dating back to 2008. So I think we've got a renewal coming up here before too long, and hopefully we'll have some news to share. And as soon as we have some news to share, Casey, you'll be the first to know.
Yeah.
I'll come on your show and talk to you about it. But don't really know what that status is at this point. But like I said, it's just mainly because I'm not a part of those conversations. As far as the TV deal is concerned, yeah, we obviously have seen some big time announcements from the Cup Series, the Xfinity Series, and the Truck Series here the past couple of weeks. I think we will have some news regarding our television future, hopefully sometime throughout 2024. I mean, we need to, because 2025 is it's the end of our deal at the end of 2024. But I think you'll see some good news on that front too. Fox Sports has been a tremendous partner of ours, dating back to when our races were on Speed Vision, and then eventually Speed, now FS1. That is a relationship that has gone back over a quarter of a century. And for all of our races to be on a Fox Sports property here in 2023 for the very first time, we didn't really know what to expect, and we were just pleased beyond belief with how that worked out. So yeah, we'll see where that goes here, Casey. And again, as soon as we have news to share, we'll let you know first. How about that?
Absolutely. And of course, I should mention all of the main ARCA races will also be on either FS1 or FS2. So no changes with this coming year's TV deal.
Yep.
Overall, and then also just to end on this, what is still left to obviously the broadcast partner where the races are going to be aired for this year, either FS1 or FS2, and the also what is left to come for any ARCA related announcements, because of course just in a few weeks time, next month, you guys are going to be down in Daytona.
So we've got all of our announcements in place, Casey. Our broadcast schedule has already been released. You can go to arcaracing.com and see where those races will be broadcast. That's the earliest we have had that in years. I give Ben Baker and his crew in the NASCAR broadcast liaison department a lot of credit for that. They worked really, really hard, and Ben and Lauren Hill and that whole group that just a tremendous amount of work to get that piece of the puzzle in place. So we really don't have any more announcements. We're now geared up for the pre-race practice at Daytona International Speedway. That's coming up there the second weekend of January, and we're full steam ahead, pointing that ship down towards Daytona. We've got the Performance Racing Industry Trade Show this weekend. Then we're going to shut down for the holidays, and once we come back, Casey, it is, like I said, full steam ahead to Daytona, baby.
Yeah, for sure. And really just overall with with overall the series, where are we at in terms of the overall health of ARCA as a whole?
Well, we have had, I think, more interest from drivers and teams this off season than we have had in most recent seasons. I think right now we are at, 8 drivers have committed to the full, coming and competing for the full series. And I think we're still an announcement or two away from being done with that. So, and then on top of that, we've got additional teams that are going to be running the entire season as well with different drivers. I think you'll see JGR announce their driver lineup here in the coming days and weeks. Andy Hillenberg's Fast Track Racing team will announce their lineups, here in the coming weeks and days. And yeah, what was that?
Venturini's.
Venturini has not announced every one of their drivers. That is correct. I think they've got a couple of more that they will make some announcements here. Yeah, so I think we're in a real good spot, Casey. We're still working to get back to those glory days levels of 35 plus cars at every race. We were up on average, more than a car per race last year. And I know that seems like it's not a lot, but it is. It's a lot. It's really hard to get. It's really hard to get these guys to come to the racetrack sometimes. It really, really is. It's money is tight, and time is tight, and you know, to be able to say, you know, we have seen an increase in our car count year over year is it again, people do not understand, you know, even if it's a one car increase year over year, you don't understand just how hard that is to make that happen at this point in time. So we're going to work hard to continue that. We'll see if we're able to keep that momentum going, Casey. I know that, you know, we're seeing some drivers already make their announcements for the test down at Daytona.
Yeah.
That's usually a pretty good sign heading into the first race of the year.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Charlie, thank you so much for coming on and talking about the East and West schedules. And of course, we'll talk to you before Daytona to get all set for the year.
You got it, buddy. Thanks for having me on, Casey.